Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the June 4th Planning Commission meeting to order at 6 o'clock. If you all would, can we get determination of quorum, please? Sorry.
Francine Donchik.
Present.
Dan Mazereski.
Here.
Kate Nelson.
Here.
Rob Pierce.
Here.
And Commissioners Flick, Kennedy, and Phillips all are ill and will not be attending, but we do have a quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. Will you all please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, can we please have the ethics law announcement and instructions for providing public comment via Zoom telephone?
There we go. Commissioners are reminded that if with respect to any matter or any person coming before the commission today, number one, you've received a gift or loan. Number two, you have a pecuniary interest. Number three, you have a commitment in a private capacity such as a family, employment, business, or similar relationship. Or number four, if you've provided representation or counseling before an agency to a person or entity for compensation within the last year on a matter that's being considered here tonight, please remember to disclose that gift, loan, interest, commitment, or prior representation at the time the matter is being considered. And furthermore, please remember to abstain from deliberation or voting on the matter if it's clear that the gift, loan, interest, commitment, or prior representation would materially affect the independence of judgment of a reasonable person. Commissioners are also reminded that under the Planning Commission rules, if you've had any contact outside this meeting with any persons interested in a matter coming before the commission today, you should disclose the nature of that contact at this meeting. I'm also going to read the Zoom instructions. Obviously, this meeting is being held here today in the County Commission chambers. It's also being held via Zoom. To attend the meeting via Zoom, you can log into the Zoom webinar using the link found on the first page of the agenda. You can also join the meeting by typing zoom.us into your computer browser, clicking Join a Meeting on the Zoom website, and entering meeting ID 842-7265-9406. Alternatively, you can join the meeting via telephone only by dialing 1-669-900-9128 and entering meeting ID 842-7265-9406 and press pound. For those wishing to provide public comment via Zoom tonight, log into the Zoom webinar using the link on the agenda and utilize the raise hand feature during any public comment period. To provide public comment via telephone only, you can press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute and unmute. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the appeal procedures, please, Mr. Lloyd.
Okay, yeah, most decisions rendered by the Planning Commission are appealable to the Board of County Commissioners. If you disagree with the decision of the Planning Commission and qualify as an aggrieved person or party, you may appeal in writing within 10 calendar days from the date that the decision being appealed is reduced to writing, filed with the Secretary of the Planning Commission, and mailed to the original applicant in the proceeding being appealed in accordance with Washoe County Code. Please call the planning staff immediately at 328-3610 for information on the appeal procedure and application fee.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? I'd like to open up general public comment at this time.
In chambers for item 5, I have Alexis Motoray. Please state your first and last name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Motorex, representing the Nevada Associated General Contractors, the trade association for commercial construction in Northern Nevada. AGC has concerns with the proposed code amendment to Chapter 110, Item 9C on tonight's agenda. Specifically on page 14, in what would be the new section 110.438.28, major grading permit thresholds and the definition of rock crushing in section 110.902.15 on page 54. The definition of rock crushing is both overly broad and narrow at the same time. It does not contemplate stone, concrete, or any other material than rock. It does not define what a large rock is, but defines rock crushing as the process of breaking down large rocks into smaller pieces or particles using mechanical force or explosives. That could include something as small as a jackhammer being used on occasion throughout a project. This lack of specificity creates a significant unintended consequence. Requiring a major grading permit simply for crushing rock, regardless of the scope of the project, is overly burdensome, potentially cost prohibitive, and onerous for small projects. The language is also out of alignment with what the cities of Reno and Sparks require, but the staff report indicates that it is intended to make it more consistent with neighboring jurisdictions. The city of Reno makes no reference in their grading permit to rock crushing. A separate stockpiling and processing permit is available when appropriate, and we would encourage the county to consider doing the same. In the city of Sparks, it depends on the handbook in which a project is located, which contemplates location and population density in determining necessary permits. Historically, at the county, industrial zoning has been treated differently than residential and commercial for the work described above. Under this proposal, industrial, residential, and commercial would all be considered the same. We would welcome the opportunity to work with staff to identify the issues trying to be addressed and to reach a mutually agreeable solution. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no more general public comment in chambers, but we do have T.C. Twitchell on Zoom. T.C., please unmute and state your first and last name for the record.
Hi, good evening. T.C. Twitchell.
Go ahead.
So I'm with Parsons Brothers Rockeries. We want to strongly disagree with the new rockery wall amendments on 110.438.42. The committee responsible for these new rock wall amendments did not consult with local industry engineers or contractors that are leaders in the industry. As an industry leader, we do not understand why rockery walls are under so much scrutiny at this time. These rock wall codes amendments should not be approved as they are written at this time. There are many existing amendments for rockery walls from the Federal Highway Administration to Southern Nevada that already exist. We believe that a diversified panel of local engineers and contractors need to be consulted before proceeding with the adoption of any rock wall amendments at this time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have no further public comment on Zoom or in chambers.
Okay, I'd like to close the public comment at this time and move on to item number 6, approval of June 4th agenda. We have no changes. Can I get a motion to accept?
Commissioner Donchik, motion to approve.
Commissioner Nelson will second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 7, approval of the May 7th draft minutes. Everybody get a chance to look at that. Do we have any changes? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Commissioner Donchik, I motion to approve.
Commissioner Lazareski, I second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any
Commissioner
opposed?
Nelson will abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay,
Well, you don't have to, there's
long as
no
you read
legal
'em.
requirement that you abstain simply because you're absent, and you actually do have a duty to vote on items.
I'll vote to approve.
okay. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, so the next item is the consent item. Mr. Lloyd?
Okay, this is the request for an extension of time for tentative subdivision map, case number WTM 16002, Golden Mesa North, for hearing, discussion, and possible action to approve an extension of time for the approval of the subdivision for 2 years, from May 20th, 2024 until May 20th, 2026. The subdivision was originally approved by the Planning Commission on March 7th, 2017. The Planning Commission may grant an extension of not more than 2 years for the presentation of any final map after the 2-year period for presenting a successive final map has expired in accordance with NRS 361C. Again, this is a consent item. However, if there are questions, Staff Planner Julie Olander is available for questions.
No question, I just want to make a disclaimer. I am the current president of the Golden Valley Property Owners Association, but for the record, I do not feel that that will hinder my vote.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? No? Looks like we got a vote on it. We get a motion to approve.
Commissioner Nelson will approve.
Can I get a second?
Second. Commissioner Lazarewski.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That moves us on to item number 9 for public hearings. It's an abandonment case number WAB 24-002 for LC Highlands 2 LLC. Mr. Lloyd, can you please announce?
Sure. For hearing, discussion, and possible action to approve an abandonment of Washoe County's interest in a construction easement, approximately 2.57 acres of land located along the west side of Highland Ranch Parkway to LC Highland 2 LLC. APNs are 508-02044 and 508-02042. Representing Washoe County in this matter is Senior Planner Courtney Wyke.
Floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. Courtney Wyke, Senior Planner. The item before you, as Mr. Lloyd just stated, is WAB 24-002, Highland Village 2. It is now. Thank you. Okay, the request before you is to approve an abandonment of Washoe County's interest in a construction easement, approximately 2.57 acres of land located along the west side of Highland Ranch Parkway to LLC Highland 2 LLC on 2 parcels of 3.33 acres and of 10.14 acres. And on the right there is a vicinity map for your edit. The easement was recorded for the construction of Highland Ranch Parkway, which was completed in the late 1990s. The easement is no longer needed as construction is complete and all public improvements fall within the right-of-way. Both subject parcels are owned by the applicant, LC Highland 2 LLC, and the abandonment would not affect any adjoining parcels. The proposed abandonment will facilitate the future development of the Highland Village Phase 2 subdivision. Here is what was included in your packet staff report demonstrating the construction easement proposed to be abandoned, highlighted in yellow along Highland Ranch Parkway on the 2 private parcels. Both parcels are currently undeveloped. The Highland Ranch Phase 2 subdivision, WTM 22-004, was approved by the Planning Commission on December 6, 2022, as a single-family common open space subdivision for a maximum of 73 lots. The proposed abandonment will enable the development to be developed as approved. Abutting property owners were noticed, consistent with Washoe County Development Code requirements. No emails or phone calls were received either for or in opposition of the requested abandonment. The various agencies that would be affected reviewed the application. Their comments are included in the staff report. Agencies with conditions are included in the conditions of approval, and staff believes that the Commission can make all of the findings as explained in the staff report. With that, I have provided a motion for your consideration in approving the requested abandonment, and I can take any questions.
Okay, thank you. We are the applicant, correct? Highland?
No,
Okay.
the applicant is the Highland Ranch 2 LLC.
Well, are they here? Would they like to make a presentation?
I believe that they do have a
Okay, all
representative
right.
available.
All right, we'll go there then, thanks.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ken Crater with Crater Consulting Group, representing the applicant and owner, and I'll keep it brief. We're in full support of the staff report, but I just want to give you a little update. We have the final map submitted. We've got an approval letter from the Sun Valley General Improvement District. We hope to get that same approval letter here shortly from the county, record the final map this fall, and start construction first thing next spring. I think if you recall, we've done a lot of community outreach in this project. We continue to do that, and we've been timely in dealing with a couple of abandoned trailers that have been dumped out there. We've got a good conversation going with the principal, the elementary school, and she was worried about kids climbing in there. So we're being good neighbors and acting on those things promptly. But I think everybody's excited and ready to have this project under construction and bring some nice new homes to Washoe County. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? I'd like to open up public comment for this matter.
I have no public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, close public comment, bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions for staff or the applicant? If not, can I get a motion, please?
Commissioner Donchik, I motion that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Planning Commission approve abandonment case number WAB 24-0002 for LC Highland 2 LLC, with the conditions included as Exhibit A to this matter, having made all three findings in accordance with Washoe County Code, Section 110.806.20.
Do we have a
Commissioner
second?
Lazarewski, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That moves us on to 9B, another abandonment, case number WAB 24-0003 for Asante. Mr. Lloyd, can you please announce?
Yeah, for a hearing, discussion, and possible action to approve an abandonment of the offer of dedication and Washoe County's interest in 46,445 square feet of right-of-way to include Sierra Pass Trail and Asante Crest Trail. APN 045740202, and Palisade Peak Lane, APN 045753005, as well as the offer of dedication and Washoe County's interest in a 4,208 square foot utility parcel at 15410 Palisade Peak Lane, which is APN 045753004. Representing Washoe County in this matter is Staff Planner Julie Olander.
Julie, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Julie Olander for the record. This is an abandonment of 3 parcels, as Trevor explained or stated. And this, just a little background on this, is for Asante, and which is a subdivision that was under TM 16009, excuse me, which was approved by the Board of County Commissioners on August 8, 2017 for 227 lots, single-family lots. The final map was created for these parcels was recorded on May 19th, 2020, and there was some concerns that came up during that mapping of that. So that's primarily why I'm here before you. So what they found was they needed to correct some references excuse me, this is me. I need to correct some references to some of the parcel numbers. So in the description, parcel, which is the utility parcel, is identified as 05. However, that should be 04. It's in the body of the staff report. The description is correct, but in the body, if you read down, it might have been confusing to you, and I apologize. And here's a map that sort of lays out the parcels. So you can see Sierra Pass is 02, Palisades is down farther, and that's 05, and then the utility parcel is 04. So this application was noticed correctly. However, my staff report carried over 05. I like that number, I guess. And just another showing of these parcels. These areas that hatched are the areas that are being abandoned. So 2 of these parcels are designated as roadways: Sierra Pass Trails and Asante Trails, and then Palisades Peak. And they include 2 parcel numbers. The other parcel is that utility parcel that is vacant, and it was originally intended for a public sewer lift station. However, the applicant has redesigned that, and the lift station is no longer, and that makes that utility parcel unnecessary. The budding property owners were noticed. I did not receive any emails. I received a phone call asking about it, but that was about it. Various staff agencies have reviewed this application, and their conditions of approval are included in Exhibit A of their staff report. Staff can make all the findings, and I provide a possible motion. The applicant is available for any questions on Zoom, and I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to make a presentation or speak on the matter?
Yes, it looks like I have Gabe. Gabe, go ahead and unmute and state your first and last name for the record.
Good evening, Gabe Whitler, Odyssey Engineering. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd just like to say that Julie's done a good job of presenting the request here. Just a quick summary. The original 5-lot map that was recorded just had a few modifications that came along with the final map that's just recorded that included the entire subdivision. And so the reason for the abandonment of the roadways is simply there was a very minor adjustment in the roadway alignment. And so to clean that up, abandoning the original offer for dedication. I would like to point out no improvements were completed with the original offer, roadway or utility. So obviously no acceptance of that offer or improvements ever occurred. Same with the sewer lift station parcel. This subdivision originally was going to have a gravity public infrastructure system to that lift station, which then would pump using a Washoe County pump system off-site. Modifications just based on availability of infrastructure and design constraints ended up with a private pump system that uses a public force main within the right-of-way. So that's the reason for no longer needing the public lift station parcel. I will note that public lift station that's been abandoned has become common area. It didn't go to any new additional lots or expansion of parcel areas. It became common area. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up public comment. Do we have any public comment on this matter?
I have no public comment in chambers and no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. Do we have any questions or discussion, or can I get a motion?
Commissioner Lazareski, I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Planning Commission approve abandonment case number WAB 24-0003 for DRP&V2 LLC with the conditions included as Exhibit A in this matter, having made all three findings in accordance with the Washoe County Code Section 110.806.20.
Commissioner Donchik, I'll second.
Wonderful. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, that brings us on to the big one. 9C, Development Code Amendment Case Number WDCA 24-0001 with Articles 438, 810, and 902. Mr. Lloyd, could you please announce that?
Yeah, for hearing, discussion, and possible action to initiate an amendment to Washoe County Code, Chapter 110, in Article 438, grading standards, Article 810, special use permits, and Article 902, definitions, to update provisions related to grading. The amendments include deleting sections in Article 438 related to grading fees, definitions, grading of slopes, cuts, fills, and phasing, and stabilization of grading, revising existing sections in Article 438 related to scope, required permits, exempted work, major grading permit thresholds, major grading permit application requirements, minor grading permit thresholds, minor grading permit application requirements, financial security for grading, unpermitted grading, stop activity orders, notice of violations and enforcement, penalties and procedures, grading and retaining walls within setbacks, drainage and terracing, erosion control, grading inspection, notification of completion of work, grading within floodplains, drainage ways, and closed hydrologic basins, and adding sections in Article 438 related to grading standards and rockery walls, adding a section to Article 810 related to determinations of substantial conformance for major grading, and revising an existing section in Article 902 to add and/or revise various definitions and all matters necessarily connected therewith and pertaining thereto. If the proposed amendments are initiated, the Planning Commission may recommend approval of the ordinance as submitted, recommend approval with modifications based on input and discussion at the public hearing, or recommend denial. If approval is recommended, the Planning Commission is asked to authorize the chair to sign the resolution to that effect. Representing Washoe County once again is Staff Planner Julie Olander.
Okay, Julie, thank you. Floor is yours.
Good evening, Julie Olander for the record. So as Trevor said, this is an initiation and a request to amend 3 articles, 438 grading, 810 special use permit, and 902 definitions. So the purpose of this amendment is to basically several different things. One, simplifying the grading requirements and ease the regulatory burden for small-scale grading projects, bring the Washoe County grading code into closer alignment with our neighboring jurisdictions, create standards that are more appropriate for the topographical constraint environment we are in, reorganize the code sections into more usable and understandable regulatory scheme. And one of the other items is create grading requirements that are workable in today's world and to make the code more workable for current situations. Some of the background on the grading, this process and how we began. Grading hasn't been updated for quite a few years. So in 2023, staff started meeting. We met with local planning and engineering consultants and started identifying key concerns concerning Article 438. Staff then began meeting internally, and we started going through the articles section by section and finding those key issues, but also just going through and sort of with a fine tooth and comb, finding the issues that we have bumped into as staff. A draft was put together, and that was distributed to county staff primarily in December of 2023. And then it was distributed to outside staff in January of 2024. We held a community meeting on February 20th, just to get additional input from other folks that might want to join on that in that direction, from that kind of that type of meeting, and we put together a proposed draft, and that's pretty much what's before you from all of those different meetings that we've had. And I do want to add that I want to thank the engineering department for Janelle Thomas and Walt West for their input, Stephen Hine, who started off with us, Trevor Lloyd. I mean, everybody has had a finger in it. We have Dwayne Smith is here. I mean, the directors have all commented too. So there's a lot of folks that have put a lot of time into this proposal. So just to walk ourselves through some of the things that we're looking at in 438 first. So some of the significant changes are we're relaxing major grading, trying to address a lot of the special use permits that go before the Board of Adjustments. We've added a section for rockery walls and grading standards. We streamlined minor and major grading standards. We've allowed slopes greater than 3 to 1, and we've added exemptions for grading permit requirements. And then some of the other things we deleted from 438. We deleted grading fees, which was determined we didn't need that information in the code itself. That we've got fees listed in other documents. And then we decided to move all the definitions that were in 438.25 to where our definitions are found in the code in 902. And those definitions we went through, we combined some of them, we added some new ones, and we deleted some that we didn't feel like we had need of any longer. And because we touched 902, you are looking at updating 902 also. That's the reason 902 is on this proposal. And then we combined several sections. We took 438.45, grading of slopes, 438.50, cuts, and 438 fills, and we combined those into other sections and added some language in those sections to really capture everything that was in those 3 sections previously. And then we also removed the phasing and stabilization of grading. Again, that was determined no longer needed. It's covered in other sections enough that this section was no longer seen, didn't need its own section. So in doing this process, we realized there were some other parts of code we had to address. 810, which is special use permits. We decided to add a section in there because a lot of issues come up with some of the changes in grading plans. And so we have now added a section that says the county engineer and director of planning and building may determine final grading plans and are in substantive conformance with approved special use permits. And like I said, this is to really help us as final plans move forward, and we find some variation. The special use permit already addressed the need for grading, and that was already reviewed. So this will allow us to make some minor changes that will not significantly change the overall plans. However, it's possible that once they got in there, they realized they needed more grading than originally was identified in the tentative map. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up again is the community meetings, just to highlight those. We did hold a community meeting. We had 17 attendees at the February 20th meeting. And again, they proposed, they had changes. They had comments and changes they wanted, and those all, again, were pulled into the proposed language that's before you tonight. We are making 2 additional changes to the amendment that was presented originally in the ordinance. We're proposing to take some language out of 43805 scope. We're removing some language that allowed the director of planning and the county engineer to modify some of the plans. And that was on page 3 of your ordinance, if you want to look at that. And then we're also removing any reference or definition of rock crushing. There's been some comments, and so after so staff is looking at gathering more input from the community and reorganizing the definition and the possible need of rock crushing in the future. So those 2 items have been removed from the ordinance, and I will provide, well, I want to finish this one slide. Staff is able to make all the findings, and here's a possible motion, and I have added that the amended that Exhibit A is amended. So if you choose to move forward with this item, please use this motion to do that. And I'm available for any questions, and as I said, we have other staff people. Staff is here too to answer any questions, and I believe there's probably public comment too.
Thank you. Let's open up public comment. Do we have any? Yes, sorry.
Chair, just real quick, Jen Gustafson for the record. I did want to just note for the record that there were, as Julie just mentioned, some very recent today updates to this ordinance, and I do believe everyone has a printed copy at the dais. I would like to mention for open meeting law purposes, there is also a printed copy in the back of the room, and I also have a printed copy here if any members of the public want to take a look. Thank you.
Additionally, we do have staff from engineering here that can also answer any of the more technical questions as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay.
In chambers for public comment, I have Alexis Motorex, followed by Dave Snellgrove.
Good.
Oh, she just wanted the first one. Okay, we have Dave Snellgrove, followed by Dan Morgan.
Good evening. For the record, I'm Dave Snellgrove, here speaking as a local land use consultant who works on many, many projects. He's feed me up here quite a few times before. Oftentimes coming in with a tentative map or a special use permit with all kinds of different grading thresholds that we've tripped. It's not uncommon to see a project come in that may just be a smaller to modest in size project that may trip 3 or 4 of the grading thresholds. A little bit larger project may trip 7, 8, 9 of the thresholds. Going through these things and then having to have an approval which then says, okay, you're only allowed to do this much when you're in preliminary grading can become very problematic. This change is long overdue. I've been barking in the ears of staff for many years, and Julie and Trevor and Chris and everyone else can tell you. This has been long needed. I've had single-family sites that have come in that we have topography in our area. And I have a single-family site come in, and there's a small area of 30% or steeper slope that a driveway is going to go over. The code said, nope, if you cross over 30%, you're in a special use permit. So that can bring you into a special use permit. Is it really necessary when everything else around it developed on the same type of land, in the same type of conditions and situations? There's a relaxation to some of the thresholds that have been a little onerous. I personally don't feel it went far enough, but it's a far cry and an improvement to where we've been operating for quite a number of years, 15 plus years, I would say. I've spoken to Dan Morgan, who will be up next. I understand the concerns that have been issued relative to rock crushing. I think that staff's resolution on that, I think it's got some strong merit, but let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think that there's really good things in here that'll be helpful, and hopefully with a lot of the smaller landowners and smaller property owners, they're not going to have to come through something that's a relatively onerous process and very expensive and takes a lot of time. I would like you to understand too, one of my concern areas is we do have a county, we've got larger parcels, and there is a threshold in the area that you can grade no more than 6 acres on a parcel that might be 80 or 160 acres. I've been concerned that that doesn't hold some proportionality, but it's consistent with where we were before. We went to a 20-foot of cut, 10-foot of fill, which is similar to other areas in the region. And honestly, having done this for over 30 years, I don't see worse projects coming out in those areas as opposed to the county. This has just been a hugely onerous ordinance to deal with through much of my career. So I thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Dan Morgan, followed by Ed Thomas.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. For the record, Dan Morgan on behalf of the 700 members and numerous thousand employees of the Builders Association of Northern Nevada. I don't need to say this anymore, but I would like to thank staff for their willingness to table this for the rock crushing portion this evening and to table that. And we very much hope that we can work with staff and other interested parties and stakeholders to find a solution that makes sense for the residential as well as commercial, heavy civil, and large companies and developments that would be affected by what it was currently the rock crushing language and definitions. So I don't have much more to say tonight other than that. I did, each of you on the commission should have received via email as well as hand-delivered this evening, an email and a letter from myself and the Builders Association, and would be happy to answer any questions you have either this evening or at a future date. So thank you all very much, and thank you to staff. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Next, we have Ed Thomas, followed by Steve Strickland.
Good evening. I'm Ed Thomas from Loomis & Associates here in Reno. I'm speaking for myself as well as Billy Anderson from my office. We were honored to be included on the team that worked to redefine some of the sections of 438. We worked very hard. The staff, the consultants, the developers that were involved all had good input. We didn't always get what we wanted, but we came up with compromises. While I was invested in the entire process, I was most interested in the effects the development that 438 had on small developments. I believe that we have come up with a much better process. Doesn't create, as Mr. Snellgrove suggested, overly onerous restrictions put on small developers in terms of cost and time. I'm also very pleased with the changes that were made for the understanding that things change between the preliminary schematic phase and the final design, and the understanding that while no intent is meant to change from the from the preliminary design. We do sometimes run into situations where the design does change, and we have now the opportunity to bring that up with staff and have the project approved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Steve Strickland, followed by Ken Crater.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Steve Strickland. I'm with Wood Rogers, principal with Wood Rogers here in Reno. I've been working on land development on the engineering side of things for more than 20 years here in this area. And first of all, before I get into that, I would like to thank the staff because I felt like the process was very inclusive of the development community. We understand what our clients, the struggles that they've dealt with the current code, and we worked very hard with staff to make improvements. And I think there's, as Ed just said, there's been a lot of compromise along the way. At the end of the day, we've got a much better code moving forward than we're currently working with now. So very happy to be part of that process, very honored to be part of that process. In terms of the engineering side of things, this new code is going to provide us a ton more flexibility with making projects work. That simple, being able to go more than 3 to 1 is a big deal for our community. We have hills, we're surrounded by mountains, and we're only going to be stretching into those more and more. And simple things like that go a long ways to making our projects more efficient and cost-effective to actually be able to build things for our clients. So I'm very proud to be part of this process, and I urge you to approve this moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, in chambers, I have Ken Crater.
Good evening once again. For the record, Ken Crater, speaking on behalf of myself, and also I'm on the legislative committee for NAIOP, the National Association of Industrial and Office Properties, and we submitted a letter to you early today. And I want to echo what everyone else has said here. I have been doing this longer than anybody in this room, I think 40 years. And I've been working with your staff for decades. And I want to say that in a lot of instances, we've initially disagreed with staff, but Dwayne and his crew, we've always been able to reach consensus on items. I think every single one, and I think that alone speaks very highly of Dwayne and his staff. But this ordinance is a big deal. And an example, the project that was here earlier, Highland Village Phase 2, we got approval for a 2 to 1 slope with a variance. And because of that variance in the 2 to 1 slope, it allowed us to leave that entire rock outcropping on the top of that slope alone. And now our project is going to have a public access easement and trail, which will allow all the community members to enjoy those fantastic views. So in certain instances, 2 to 1 slopes are a good solution, but it all really comes down to the engineering and making sure that the geotechnical engineer, the civil engineer, and county staff working hand in hand and do a proper design, a proper review, and make sure that it's safe. But again, there's numerous instances where 2 to 1 slopes are a great solution, and I think that holds true of most of this ordinance. As far as the blasting, yes, I think we need some more discussion on that, but blasting isn't always a bad thing. In fact, it allows a reuse of the rock on the site instead of having hundreds or potentially thousands of truck trips on the road. And we recently did a project with significant amount of blasting, and we literally built an earthen berm higher than the rock crushing operation and blasting to mitigate the impacts to the neighbors. And that project went very smoothly. So again, I think there's always solutions out there, and I know the staff is willing to work with us and roll up our sleeves and come up with some good solutions. And my last point I want to make, I'd love to see further discussion on rockery walls. I do believe that this is a little stringent as far as the ability, again, of an engineer to design a rockery wall that works. And again, I've been doing this for a long time. And right after the Seattle earthquake, I think like 20 years ago, a lot of prominent UNR civil engineering professors went up there from the structural group, and they found out that the rockery walls in Seattle actually performed better than the concrete and masonry walls because they were able to move a little bit. And I'd love to continue further discussions too with staff as we get more information. I understand there's going to be a major testing event here at the UNR seismic labs shortly, which will give us a lot better data on how these rockery walls perform. So again, thank you for your time and agreeing to take on this important issue.
Thank you.
I have no further public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, we'll close down the public comment. We'll bring it back to the board for questions, discussions, or a motion. What do we got?
Well, sorry. I just want to say, before we go any further, I want to say thank you very much to staff and everybody who was involved in this, because this was a very intense project, and we know it was not easy. So thank you for all the due diligence you did to make the clarity on this and make it easier to work with. So thank you very much.
I just want to echo those statements. Having navigated through 438 myself, it was onerous at times in trying to figure out how to exactly get some projects through. So I appreciate all the work that was done. I'm glad to see that the rock crushing has been removed. I think it comes down to more of a language thing. Maybe you're just concerned with, say, rock splitting and blasting as opposed to actual crushing. So I'm glad to see that that's been removed, and it'll have more in-depth discussion.
Commissioner Lazarewski, I guess this is a question for technical staff, engineering department, or whoever from staff would like to speak to it. Speaking about the rockery walls, can you guys describe what the problems with the existing code for rockery walls and what has been seen in the region that prompted us to get a little more stringent than we had been?
Good evening, Janelle Thomas, Senior Licensed Engineer for the record. So we have been having some challenges. There is an existing Northern Nevada amendment to the International Building Code in place where we are seeing returning comments and challenges to some of those specifications that are in place. I currently sit on the subcommittee for the code update for the 2024 IBC. And though the amendment language that we have been working on as a subcommittee as part of that code update regionally, the language that you see in our code is indicative of the work that we have done on that subcommittee to make it a more understandable, a more robust application of the code language. A lot of the times that we are addressing this issue, it has to do with the loads that are imparted on the back of those rockery walls. One of the key components in the existing code is that there shall be no surcharge on the backs of those walls. Therefore, if you're looking at, I'll get a little nerdy on you. So if you look at the back of the wall, you've got a wall that stands, 6 feet tall. Then you want to have a bench behind that wall before you have a slope coming at it. That eliminates that load behind the wall to be imparted on those rocks. And so it's really looking at the stability and making sure that we keep our public safe. We don't want any of these toppling. We don't want any of them eroding and things like that.
And elsewhere in Washoe County, maybe not within our jurisdiction, but there have been issues with stability in some of the taller rockery walls?
Yeah, throughout our region, we have experienced some rockery wall failures, and they're from various sources. It could be the constructability that caused that. It could be the integrity of the boulders that are being used, and so on and so forth.
Thanks.
I just wanted to thank staff for all their hard work on this also. I think you guys have done a great job from what I've seen. So, any more comments, questions? Motion?
Do we want them to put up the amended?
Yeah, can we get that motion put back up, please? Okay, there you go.
Commissioner Lazarewski, I move that after giving reasoned consideration to the information contained in the staff report and information received during the public hearing, the Washoe County Planning Commission recommend approval of WDCA 24-0001 to amend Washoe County Chapter 110 Development Code within Article 438 Grading, Article 810 Special Use Permits, and Article 902 Definitions, as reflected in the proposed ordinance contained in Attachment A1. I further move to authorize the chair to sign the resolution contained in amended Exhibit A on behalf of the Washoe County Planning Commission and to direct staff to present a report of this commission's recommendation to the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners within 60 days of today's date. This initiation and recommendation of approval is based on all of the four findings in accordance with Washoe County Code, Section 110.818.15E.
Okay, we have a second.
Commissioner Nelson will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
Hey, Mr. Chair, if I could, before folks leave, I just wanted folks to know how blessed we are to have the staff that we have here. And Julie took on this from the start, and it was an undertaking, and we are so grateful to have Janelle. I'm glad we could get her from the city of Sparks, but she's special. And everybody involved, and the community too, the development community that we were working with provided so much great input too, that it was a real cooperative effort, and we're grateful to have gotten this far. Thanks.
Great, thank you. All right, that moves us on to item number 10, chair and commission items, future agenda items. Do we have anything we want? I do. Looks like Francine and Pat are leaving, and so at the next meeting, can we invite them back and give them a accommodation for all their years of service? And thank you, appropriate thank you.
Can't believe it's been 8 years,
Yes.
Francine.
2 full terms.
Wow.
8 years. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you.
It's been an honor and privilege to work with everybody here and staff
Pat, even
and
though she's
the
not
different
here.
board. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, for sure. Okay. Anything else for that? No?
Well, I may not be on the planning commission any longer, but I did make a request a while back for a plan but not yet built for the area so people would know where we are with developments, and that might still
We'll
be.
have that at the next meeting, yeah, absolutely.
There you go. At the end. No, I'm kidding. Request for information from staff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to echo everybody's words in praising the staff and all the good work they're doing on the code updates to follow the master
easy.
plan update. Do you think it'd be possible to have a short written plan of just which ones we have kind of in the works coming forward?
Oh, actually, that's a great idea, because we've got quite a few in the pipe, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I know as part of the master plan, there was a ranking and
Yes.
a plan, so just an update on where we are and what's coming next.
Great idea, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, because the CAP meeting notification thing doesn't always show what's coming down, so yes, please, yes. Director and legal counsel items. Report from previous planning commissioner items.
Sure. At the May 14th BCC meeting, the board approved 2 code amendments. The first was the Sutcliffe code amendment that was associated with the Sutcliffe MPA RZA, as well as the Village Green Development Code Amendment, and moved all of those provisions or policies into the development code. And that's all that I have.
Legal information updates.
Nothing from me tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any public comment, general public comment? Let's open that up.
I have no general public comment in chambers. I have no hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, we'll close that. And with that, it is 6:53 and meeting is adjourned. Thank you.